Hi, you're watching the Book Talk, and today I'm in Rishikesh. Well, when we talk about Rishikesh, there are two things that comes into our mind. One is yoga and second is spirituality. So today I have somebody with me who's going to talk about a fantastic book. Please welcome Hare Krishna Das ji.
Namaste.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Today we are going to talk about a very interesting book that I really wanted to read for a long time. The Journey Home, which is written by Radhanath Swamy ji, and I have heard about this book a lot. So before we talk about this book, I would like to tell you about the guest today. He is right now serving in ISKCON Rishikesh, and now I would request you to please introduce yourself.
While I come from Mumbai. I am born and brought up in Mumbai, and it's just 2 years that I have been in Rishikesh, serving here in terms of trying to bring this path of spirituality, which is through the Bhakti Yoga tradition, to all the seekers coming to Rishikesh who are coming with sincere desire to seek connection with spirituality through the process of yoga. So, I got interested in spiritual life or spirituality when I was 16 years of my age, still in college, and it was my elder brother who inspired me, and this is somewhere in 1994, and for the first time I attended a spiritual satsang happening in Mumbai, in the suburb of Mumbai, and that was led by Radhanath Swami, and this is the first time that I was seeing him. He was speaking about the story of Lord Ram and how he, as is described in Ramayana, how he led a life of integrity, and that's how I started becoming more and more interested in knowing what are the teachings. Especially he kept quoting so many times from the Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, and then that's where my journey started.
Okay, so now let's talk about this book, The Journey Home. Tell us more about this book, and maybe if you could read some, wisdom that he has shared with the world.
Yes, so as I mentioned that the first time I met Radhanath Swami was in 1994, and each and every talk that he gave was so much full of practical life lessons that we all can live with, not just good for hearing
Right.
and getting inspired, but something that can be practiced in our life. So all these things that he had learned, he never shared what was the struggle or his journey, the life events that gave him such deep wisdom. But it was only in 2008 when this book was published for the first time, The Journey Home, that we could have an insight into his life of what was the struggle that he has gone through,
Right.
to bring out these lessons and give it so easily,
Yeah.
like on a platter
Right.
for all of us.
Right.
It is in 2005 that while he was in America,
Okay.
he was informed that one of his closest friends,
Okay.
Bhakti Swami, was detected with cancer
Okay.
and was in his last stages. And he was called by Bhakti Swami
Okay.
to be by his side till he is surviving.
Okay.
So that would mean 2 weeks, or that could mean 6 months.
Right.
Because of such closeness with his friend, he set aside all his schedules and gave 100% of his time to him.
Okay.
While Bhakti Swami was leaving, breathing his last breath, he took a promise from Radhanath Swami
Okay.
that the journey that you have gone through in exploring spiritual life, he started at the age of 19.
Okay.
As a young American, never set a foot out of America
Right.
and exploring, going through all over the world. So he took this promise that you will not keep this journey anymore secret,
Okay.
because it is not about you,
Right.
but it is about so many more seekers who are also on this path and
Right.
who need guidance.
True, and that's so true. There's so many people who wants to know the purpose of their lives, and if somebody who already had this journey, if they can share this wisdom.
So it was out of his natural humility that he never spoke about all these stories that are there in this book.
Yeah.
I would really like to read some passages from this book and
Sure.
want to share how this journey really started.
Okay.
In the beginning, he writes that how he comes from a Jewish background,
Right.
and as a young boy growing up in 1950s, which was time which was so much full of strife. It was just time after the First World War,
Right.
and the world was in so much of mess.
Yeah.
And coming from the Jewish background,
Right.
there was so much discrimination
Okay.
against him, because if you remember 1945, the center of that World War II was Germany
Exactly.
and its
Yeah.
atrocities against the Jews. So he relates in the first chapter that as a youngster he was with his very close friend
Okay.
at his house,
Okay.
and in his house this young boy shows his father's closet, and in that there are guns
Okay.
and grenades and a big picture of Adolf Hitler.
Oh.
And this boy says that this is a secret that I want to share with you. My parents hate you. And as a young, impressionable boy, he's
Okay.
kind of shocked.
Yeah. When you say hate means a lot. You're a teenager.
Not even a teenager, he was less than that. He
Okay.
was just 5 or 6 years, or 7, 8 years. So he writes, a wave of heat rushed from my stomach to my throat. Why? What did I do? Because you are a Jew and they say you killed Jesus. And his mind is wrecked that this is my closest friend,
Right.
and he says that his father hates me. So he asked this question that your father hates me, do you hate me?
Right.
And he says that no,
Okay.
you are my best friend, but because you are Jew, I might hate you when I grow up, but I don't know.
Okay.
So this is the background with which he starts, that the world is full of so much of discrimination, there is so much of hate, anger, violence, and all of that many times in the name of God. And he really started wondering that does God really hate me? Because this is what this friend said to him,
Right.
that even the God hates you because you are a Jew. Because it was the Jews who were the cause of the death of his son Jesus. That's what
Friend told him.
the friend,
People were saying.
Yeah, people are saying, and the friend makes him
Feel.
understand or feel.
Oh. Okay.
And he's so much full of anxiety and so much broken hearted that he came home and he asked his mother
Okay.
that, Mom, does God hate me?
Okay.
And she says that, why would he? And why are you asking this question? So he said, no, I just want to ask this. And he, just to keep it as a secret what happened, he never disclosed to his mother. Then he writes that in the innocence of childhood, I secretly prayed in my thoughts or in a whisper. I would mostly pray in bed until I fell asleep. When I prayed, I felt a sense of shelter that someone was listening to me. I
Okay.
believed God heard me and was with me.
Okay.
And he says, I often wondered, is he like an enormous cloud or a shadow, nearly invisible? Or is he a friend who hears my every prayer, so real that I can almost touch him with my thoughts? So, this is the incident which triggered the quest of knowing God.
Right.
So, many times, we can see this relating to Gita,
Right.
that if everything is rosy in this world, no
Right.
one really bothers about God or spirituality. But
That's
it's
so true.
only when we are
Face
hit with a,
difficulties.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
we face difficulty, we are hit by the wall or stumble,
Yeah. That's so true.
then
Then only we.
we start inquiring about spirituality.
Right.
So he started his journey then.
Right.
He kept inquiring in so many ways. He writes
Okay.
in his book that he would, whenever he would go to the synagogue, he would ask the rabbi so many questions,
Okay.
but never really got any satisfactory answer.
Okay.
His quest to know about God and spirituality became even more amplified when in 1960s, late 1960s, there
Okay.
was this so much of strife, especially in America,
Right.
because of the Vietnam War,
Right.
and so many youngsters were recruited against their desire to become the soldiers for the war
Yeah.
waged by
Yeah.
America in
Yeah.
Vietnam,
Right.
which Americans had nothing to do with.
Right.
And there was so much of civil unrest,
Right.
and the leader at that time was Martin Luther King.
King.
He was following him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was so much discrimination between blacks and
White.
whites,
Yeah.
and all this triggered so many questions in his mind to know what is the purpose of life.
Okay.
And this is America, which is considered as the best country, full of so much of riches
Yeah.
and opportunities, and there is so much of unrest there.
Right.
So it started
From
triggering these questions.
there. Okay.
And then he says that he found an opportunity
Okay.
to come with his friends
Okay.
to Europe for a vacation.
Okay.
And he shares so many details that how in the first week of their vacation they were robbed of all their money
Okay.
while camping somewhere, and the friend who brought them all,
Okay.
he said, I can't take any more care of all of you. You are
Okay.
on your own. Whatever you want to do, you do.
Okay.
And so he, with his best friend Gary, they start exploring other countries in Europe.
Okay.
They come to Italy, Florence,
Okay.
and go to different cathedrals in that country, in
Country.
Rome.
Okay.
And in all that, he keeps meeting different enlightened beings,
Okay.
these teachers, the
Okay.
big priests in the
Yeah.
churches, in different places of worship,
Right.
and ask so many questions
Yeah.
and learn many things.
Yeah.
But he never felt completely satisfied with all the answers,
Right.
because no one could any time give any satisfactory answer of who this God really is.
Right.
Is it just a concept,
Right.
or is he a person?
Yeah.
And he mentions that while in Greece, he was meditating
Okay.
on the island which is called as the Isle of Crete,
Okay.
on a mountain with his friend,
Okay.
and he was deeply yearning to know
Right.
who God is.
Up until now, he was just seeking, but he was not getting the answers.
Yeah,
Okay.
he is still seeking now
Okay.
in Greece,
Okay.
and sitting in meditation, not knowing who God is, but just
Right.
that there is some God. He is making a prayer, oh God, whoever you are, please show me the path that I can achieve you, I can know you better.
Right.
And in one of those meditations, he got some words coming from his heart
Okay.
that if you want to know God, go to India.
Okay.
And this is the first time that he says that I don't even know where India is
Yes.
exactly on the map.
Right.
Because growing up as an American
Yeah.
in those days,
Yeah.
America was all,
Everything that you
everything
need.
for them.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
don't have to
Go.
search or go anywhere.
Right.
So here he came to know that yes, India is in the east side. Without any money with them,
Right.
with him, he started hitchhiking.
Okay.
His journey from Greece, he
Okay.
came back to London.
Okay.
Then he went to again Italy,
Okay.
and started hitchhiking, traveling sometimes by walking,
Okay.
by taking some public transport,
Right.
going through Turkey,
Okay.
then Afghanistan, then Pakistan,
Okay.
finally reaching India.
Okay.
And in this whole journey, he amazingly writes different incidents that he, came across.
Okay.
Sometimes life-threatening events,
Okay.
that he was almost killed,
Okay.
he was drugged
Ra-
in Afghanistan,
Okay.
and he was being chased by people to kill him because he was an American and they thought that he must have a lot of money,
Right.
dollars.
Right.
Finally, somehow he came to India,
Okay.
and on the border of India-Pakistan, he was not allowed to enter India, which was his dream now come true,
Right.
that I have now finally reached
Reach
India.
India. Yeah.
So it took almost 6 months with
Okay.
so many challenges and life-threatening
Events.
experiences
Yeah, that happened.
in the whole journey
Right.
overland. And finally, when he reached India and feeling that
Final.
culmination of my journey,
Yeah.
the immigration stopped him and said that you won't be allowed. That's a very beautifully writes that how he started crying and pleading,
Right.
but somehow finally by some divine arrangement he could get access.
Right.
And while in India, he went through different places. He went to Delhi. He finally came to Rishikesh,
Okay.
hearing so much about the yogis
Wow.
and about the path of yoga.
Right.
Lived in Rishikesh with many mystics.
Okay.
Lived in caves.
Oh. Okay.
Throughout the day, he would sit on a rock in Ganga,
Okay.
meditating on Ganga and praying to Ganga that you have been flowing for millennia
Right.
and you have found your destination in the ocean,
Right.
and my journey
It's still
is
not-
going nowhere.
Right.
Please guide me.
Okay.
And he writes that how mysteriously, while meditating one day,
Okay.
he hears some very mysterious mantra
Okay.
which he saw everywhere in all direction, and he could not see anyone around.
Right.
And this is in 1970s when
Okay.
there were not so many ashrams here. This is where he got so much of inspiration and spiritual
Right.
direction
Right.
in Rishikesh.
Okay.
And he heard that mantra which
Okay.
he never could not memorize that because
Yeah.
it's Sanskrit.
Yeah.
But he kind of remembered that this is how the mantra is.
Yeah.
And eventually he was running out of his visa.
Okay.
So he came to Mumbai.
Okay.
And while in Mumbai, he reads a big hoarding
Okay.
on the railway station, and that's written Hare Krishna. And
Okay.
Pandal program, Cross Maidan.
Okay.
So he was thinking that maybe some spiritual event.
Okay.
let me go.
Again. Okay.
And he came there, and that was a big setup, and this was the first ever program, public
Okay.
program being conducted by Swami Prabhupada,
Okay.
the founder of ISKCON,
Okay.
who eventually would become his
Guru.
in future. But up till now
Up
he
and-
doesn't know.
Right. He
So
was
he-
seeking. Still
Yeah,
seeking.
he's still seeking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he went there, attended the discourse. The first day, when the discourse started, he's sitting somewhere in the crowd. So while seated in that crowds of thousands, as a no one,
Right.
Yes, of course, he did not look like a normal person because
Right.
he was residing in Rishikesh for so many months.
Yeah.
So he was actually living like a sadhu because
Okay.
when he was in Rishikesh, he was taught the ways of living like a sadhu.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, he gave up all his Western clothes and he
Okay.
was living like a sadhu.
Sadhu.
So, mysteriously, from the stage, a person comes right up to him,
Yeah.
parting the crowds of thousands, and picks him up and asks that Swami Prabhupada wants you to sit on the dais with him,
Okay.
on the stage.
Okay.
And for the next 10 days, he hears all the discourses while sitting on the
Sitting there.
stage,
Okay.
not knowing why this is happening to me.
Right.
And he mentions that in his journey, he met so many who's who in the
Right.
spiritual circles.
Right.
He met Baba Ramdas.
Okay.
He met Baba Ramdas, who is
I've heard
follower
about
of
him.
Neem Karoli Baba,
Right. Right.
and he met Swami Ram of Himalayan Institute.
Right.
He heard discourses from Swami Satchidananda
Right.
of Integral Yoga.
Okay.
He stayed for some time in Shivananda ashram,
Ashram. Okay.
and hearing and getting guidance from Swami Shivananda, from Swami Chidananda Saraswati
Okay.
of Divine Life Society.
Right.
And he mentions that he also had courses
Right.
from Mr. S.N. Goenkaji
Okay.
of Vipassana,
Oh. Okay.
and having discourses from Anandamayi Ma. He mentions that whenever he met these great teachers,
Right.
he learned so many valuable lessons from them, and so sincere
Right.
student he was. Many of these teachers,
Right.
they offered him to stay with them in their
Okay.
ashram.
Okay.
But he felt, I have gathered so much wisdom from you, but still, these are all so many very profound impressions, like a dot in my mind,
Right.
but I am still not able to make a complete picture out of it.
Right.
And somehow, very mysteriously, by this time he was identifying himself like a yogi
Okay.
and living like a beggar
Okay.
with a begging bowl.
Okay.
He mentions while in Mumbai he wanted to purchase a book, but he did not have any money.
Money. Okay.
So he went out on the street lights,
Okay.
begged money, and purchased the book.
Okay.
And again he was going back. He identified himself as a follower
Yogi.
of Lord Shiva,
Okay.
because Lord Shiva is the best yogi,
Right.
and he was on the yoga path. So he wanted to come and take darshan of Amarnath.
Okay.
And so he started on his journey. He was in Patna for some time, and he mentions that how he learnt a very valuable lesson from a person in Patna.
Okay.
Again, a normal person
Right.
who had a friend who was a Muslim,
Okay.
and they both would sit for a long time
Okay.
conversing with each other different aspects of spirituality.
Okay.
And this is 1970s India, where there is war brewing between India and Pakistan.
Pakistan. True.
And he sees that these two friends are so nicely speaking
Yes.
with each other without any hatred or without any mental any
Loss.
problems.
Right.
So he asked him that how is it that you are so close friends?
Right.
And he says that with so much of affection,
Right.
you are speaking with
Right.
someone from a different religion.
Oh, but there's a dot. He started off with his friend, right? When his friend said that you are Jewish or something. So this is where maybe that
Yeah.
question comes from,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So yeah. So he was intrigued
Right.
that this person is generally the society
Yeah.
is such that Hindus and Muslims hate each other, or
Right.
at least they are made to hate each other,
Right.
probably politically or whatever way. So he says that how is it that you have so much affection for someone
Right.
from another religion
Right.
in a country where there is so much conflict between the two.
Right.
This
To
is the
religion.
religion.
Only. Yeah.
So he asked this question to his friend Narayan Prasad,
Okay.
and he writes, which is something very profound.
Okay.
I'll read that.
Sure. Sure.
With a warm smile, Narayan Prasad said something I have never forgotten. Quote, a dog will recognize his master in whatever way he dresses.
Okay.
The master may dress in robes, suit and a tie, or stand naked, but the dog will always recognize his master. If we cannot recognize God, our beloved master, when he comes in a different dress from another religion, then we are less than a dog.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So, he says that he feels so grateful of having met so many different people like this,
Yeah.
learning so many valuable lessons from them.
Yeah.
And, he starts from Patna, goes to the railway station, wants to go to Amarnath,
Yeah.
and in midway, the train stops for many hours at some station,
Right.
and just to catch breath,
Right.
catch fresh air,
Right.
he jumps out of this train,
Okay.
which is the third class compartments in those years,
Yeah.
which are overcrowded with hundreds of people.
Right.
So he jumps out and the train starts.
Okay.
And he can't get in that train.
Okay.
And then he starts seeing, where am I?
Okay.
And he understands, he is given to understand that he is on a station called as Mathura,
Okay.
and the day is Janmashtami.
Oh.
So, and someone tells that the birthplace of Lord Krishna is very close by, and
Okay.
today is the day of Lord Krishna's birth,
Birth.
Janmashtami, so you should go there.
Right.
So many sadhus take him there,
Okay.
and eventually he comes to Vrindavan
Okay.
and stays for 6 months in Vrindavan, and he
Okay.
falls so much in love with Vrindavan,
Right.
and he meets a very dear friend Ghanshyam
Okay.
there, and learns so many wonderful things from him about the bhakti.
Right.
All this while he was learning different paths of yoga.
Yes.
Now in Vrindavan he learns the bhakti yoga path,
Okay.
and he could see all the dots joining. Because
Right.
we understand from the Gita itself that, yoga is like a ladder,
Right.
and there are different steps in that ladder. The highest expression of yoga
Right.
is complete devotion and selfless dedication in service to the Supreme and to the creation of the Supreme. So he started getting more and more insight that my journey is coming close.
Okay.
I am coming close to know who God is.
Right.
And then he meets Prabhupada again,
Okay.
and he is in some meeting with him where
Okay.
there are so many guests,
Right.
and someone asks Prabhupada. By
Okay.
this time, 1970s, Srila Prabhupada had been to America in 1965,
Okay.
established International Society for Krishna Consciousness
Okay.
single-handedly at the age of 70.
Right.
And in 1970s there were hundreds of temples all over the world with so many thousands of followers.
Right.
So someone asked him, are you the guru of the world,
Okay.
Jagat Guru?
Okay.
And in all humility, Prabhupada very simply said, no,
Okay.
I am servant of all. I am not guru of everyone. I am servant of everyone.
Right. That's
And
beautiful.
this is what impressed him, and he kept learning so many things from Prabhupada,
Right.
that finally he started learning in his heart that this is where God is guiding me to.
Right.
How is it that sitting in thousands I am being picked up and get privileged to sit at his feet
And here
and
the
here for
discourse.
10 days, and now again in Vrindavan he meets
Learn.
him,
Yes. Yes.
and that's where he dedicates his life to this bhakti yoga path,
Okay.
And he culminates his book by saying that he did not want to leave Vrindavan.
Okay.
He had decided that this is where I am going to live forever.
Okay.
But then his visa ran out
Okay.
and he had to go to America. And
Right.
it is very interesting that all this while, when he was traveling for
Right.
more than a year,
Right.
his family members did not know where he is.
Okay.
He would just keep writing letters in
Letters.
riddles.
Those were the different times, right?
He would write letters in riddles,
Okay. Okay.
sitting in a cave watching a butterfly. Om.
Okay.
Sometimes these are the things that he would write, and
Yeah.
the parents were completely, wondering
Lost
where
it.
we have lost our
What is he
son.
doing? Right.
Where is he?
Right.
He would not even write where is
Yeah.
he. Writing from the cave of Himalaya.
Right. That
So,
was his path, his
yeah,
journey, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, he writes that, for gaining something,
Right.
we have to be ready to let go something.
Right.
And very beautifully he, again shows that, he came back to his house,
Right.
spent time with his parents, but finally he decided that, his life was of dedication and service to the
Service to
humanity.
all. Yeah.
And the best way is that, you give your all.
Right.
And that's how he, joined the monkhood,
Okay.
stayed in US in a place called New Vrindavan,
Okay.
which is in West Virginia, and that's where he also took sannyas.
Okay.
And then later on he started traveling to India, and while in India he established this thriving community which is now guiding so many more people to spirituality and the path of yoga.
Right.
And the different projects that are set up, social projects for education of underprivileged children.
Right.
He's helping run a very old
Right.
orphanage which was about to shut down,
Okay.
but
Okay.
he revived that and established this Govardhaniko village.
Right.
Because we should know that we are staying in this world and everything is harmonized.
Right.
Yoga means to harmonize our body, our mind, our soul, and also the environment in which we live. And this Govardhaniko village is a role model for how to live a sustainable life with caring about nature, respecting nature,
Right.
and even replenishing nature. Through this journey, he has inspired so many more people
Right.
to who were kind of not very sure whether I should take this
Path or not.
path, whether I should take the risks involved
Right.
or the sacrifices which are involved in this.
Right.
But we see that the sacrifice is not just external, but it is basically, coming out of our comfort zone
Right.
and exploring this path. And he continues to inspire so many more.
That's right.
And I'm sure you must be knowing that, through so much of discourses and inspirational talk on media,
Yes. Yes.
social
Yes.
media,
Yes.
he's being invited at so many forums by the House of Lords, House of Commons, invited at different universities, Oxford Union, Cambridge, to give these talks to every kind of people and inspire them in their spiritual journey.
Right. That's so beautiful. And if you could, in the end, talk about the takeaways, maybe few takeaways that you would like to tell from this book.
Yeah. So, from this book, the one very important thing that comes out is that the Lord or the origin of all of us, the source, whom we are all trying to reconnect with, is always ready to help us.
Right.
As he writes that in every situation, whenever he faced a challenge
Right.
or an event where he was, in a dangerous situation, he always sought out for help, prayed, and the help came. So he says that, if we are ready to take that first step
Right.
to again reconnect with our source, there is so much of help which is waiting to come to you.
Right.
The takeaway that I would say from this book is that we should take that first step in the journey and genuinely seek,
Right.
and the proper guidance will come in some form or the other. We should be open for it. And this book really opens up that kind of mindset, at least that I was already on the path
Right. Right.
when I started reading this book, but it made all the sense to continue on this path.
Right. But that's what good books does to you. It gives you different perspectives, or maybe sometimes teaches you something that you carry for life. So yeah, thank you so much for talking about this particular book. I'm sure so many people who are listening to your talk, who are watching you, they would really want to take this book and maybe take all the wisdom that he has shared with the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as you are requesting your viewers to have
Right.
this book,
Right.
I am also taking this as an opportunity to give you.
Thank you
your book.
so much. I really wanted to read this book. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank